Alright, it's Saturday night. I have no date, a 2-liter bottle of Shasta, and my all-rush mixtape. Let's rock.
Kingdom Hearts Melody of Memories. It's singular. What do you mean it's singular? Wait, it's Kingdom Hearts Melody of Memory. That feels so weird. It should be plural. Anyways, it follows the events of Kingdom Hearts 3 Remind, focusing on Kairi and her efforts to hopefully find some connection to Sora, who disappeared at the end of the game. Remind has given us one piece, but now we must find another piece in a rhythm game. Didn't expect this route from Kingdom Hearts if I'm being honest. I suppose it makes sense as the Kingdom Hearts series is well known for its music, so a rhythm game for it would actually be beneficial. A lot of you don't know this about me because I haven't really expressed it much in previous videos, but I like me some rhythm games. The Persona Dancings, the Guitar Heroes, the Rock Bands, the Dance Dance Revolutions, the Elite Beat Agents, and Osu. I've played a lot of them and enjoyed them thoroughly, so a rhythm game with another series that I also enjoy would be very much up my alley. So today, I'll be looking over Kingdom Hearts Melody of Memory and see where this strange addition to the series takes us. A vast majority of the story is a brief retelling of the events of the Kingdom Hearts series with Kairi narrating over it. This retelling is somewhat decent enough for introducing someone to the series, though it definitely spoils a lot of stuff, and seeing the original cutscenes is still better, especially since there's a lot of stuff that isn't fully explained. And there's literally no mention of anything Key related either. I understand why. It's from Kairi's perspective. She has nothing to do with Key. As of right now, because Key isn't done yet. Somehow. But whatever, I'd still tell people to play the other games, and it's beyond story reasons as to why for that. Now this next part has spoilers, so if you care about that, then skip to this part of the video. I'll give you time to do that, but anyone else should subscribe. Now that some have skipped ahead, after about 8 hours of retelling previous events, the ending reveals some of Kairi's memories. This reveal leads to the introduction of fictional worlds, or unreality? Seriously, you could have just said alternate realities. This was like in Recoded when they kept calling pain hurt. What makes it worse is that they even reverted from that in this game and then they added in unreality. Not only does it sound stupid now, it sounds stupid and pretentious. I'm gonna be talking about that forever if I stay on it, so let's just move on. This, in addition to Riku's dream and the help of Fairy Godmother, is able to track down a star from the final world that encounters Sora, leading to Riku being sent to Quadratum and Kairi back to doing more training. After training for an extended period of time, where time doesn't matter. She also was saved by Sora against the memory of Xehanort. Can Kairi get a dub on her own yet? Like, I don't even hate this character, I kinda just hate how she's written. At least she'll be training with Aqua now, so hopefully she'll get somewhere. But in terms of that, it's just another wait and see moment. I think my main gripe with just getting this extra bit of information is the fact that it takes about 6 hours before you get this, and everything else kinda just doesn't really matter. And I'm talking more than normal. There's actually like no development from then on. Now I do know that before the game was actually released, it was said that we're not supposed to be expecting that much story in this, which is fair, but 6 hours is still a lot. Aside from that, this sets the direction for the next game and will open up a lot of ideas in the future and hopefully answer a lot of questions that we still have. Trust me, there are a lot. The menus are just great. Just look at how wholesome these interactions are, aside from this. I'm sorry, Riku, they did you very dirty in this game. Each one of these bring back memories, especially since they all reuse animations from the other games. In fact, most of the art style is used from Cage games before 3. The character models and animations, with some exceptions, the worlds, with one exception. A lot of stuff is reused, but they do still use Cage 3's art style for some cutscenes. And it's not bad, but it's still about as jarring as when Cage 3 went backwards with scenes. But even with the jarring aspect, it doesn't feel lazy. It feels like it's taking something old and resending it with a new breath of life, and this is no clearer than with the environments that the tracks take place on. All of them capture the worlds very well, melding together the areas of the worlds and showing off their significant and most recognizable landmarks, as well as the general mobs for each world respectively. Them being presented like this is a different point of view, helping people relive their own experiences from the game, even though you have to focus on the song that's playing, but hey, that's how rhythm games go. The only sections of the game that don't do this though is with Kingdom Hearts 3. Those are instead montage videos, which I can kinda understand, but at the same time, a devolve of those worlds could look pretty interesting. And speaking of the music, this is the biggest collection of Kingdom Hearts music in a game to date. 140 songs. That is a huge number for base rhythm game standards, and there's not even DLC with this game. Music from almost every game is here. The only ones that aren't included are the Key series and VCast. Yeah, that. The track list is something that I'll go more into later, but right now, there is one thing I want to bring up. What's kinda odd with the music is that this game uses the older versions of the songs rather than the newer versions that were made for the HD remixes. Now, they still sound good, the soundtrack is pretty iconic for a reason, but you have the crisper versions right there. Why not use those? Maybe this was done for nostalgia purposes, as this is a heavily nostalgia driven game, but even then, it's a strange choice. But there is one thing that's from the series that I'm actually glad isn't in this game. The low health sound. Can you imagine just how distracting and stress inducing it would be to have in this game? Thank goodness it's not. Also, there is one little difference between the English and Japanese versions of the game that I want to bring up. In the Japanese version, the highest rank you can get is a triple S rank. However, in English, the highest rank you can get is an A+++. They are basically the same rank, but it's kind of insulting that this is different, especially since I got the best rank on most songs in the game on Proud. So Square, give me my S ranks. I am good at the video game, I demand my respect. The entirety of the game has you control a trio of characters as you time various button presses to the enclosing circle guide that is given for each enemy and object heading towards you. However, there are 3 different types of gameplay: field, boss battles, and memory dives. Each of them have differences between them. The field type involves your group running along a music track towards the mobs. You can attack enemies with multiple characters at the same time, use reaction crystals to attack enemies off the track, or unleash a strong attack on a large enemy, jump to avoid projectiles and reach enemies in the air, and glide to hit glide notes. For some Disney worlds, you'll be able to play alongside guest characters, whose notes give bonus points. Boss battles have your trio run around fighting, well, a boss. The rules are fairly different from the field gameplay. The main differences are there are no jump or glide notes. Instead, you are able to hold and release attack notes as well as use the control sticks to hit slide notes. A unique difference is that during certain parts of the song, the boss is preparing to do a special attack. Your performance during this section will affect how much damage you take during the special attack. During memory dives, your party flies forward as a montage of cutscenes play. This type is similar to the boss battles, however there are no special attacks to look out for. Another similarity between this and the boss battles is that there's no guest characters for them. Before each song, you can change which trio you use as well as equip items, which can increase the drop rate of items and experience after you've completed a song, refill your health whenever it gets low, or have Mickey help you throughout the song. There are a few game modes that you can play. World Tour is the story mode, where you go from world to world collecting stars by completing missions assigned to each song. Obtaining enough stars unlocks another world. Track selection lets you play any song you have unlocked. There's also synthesis, which allows you to create songs that can be played in track selection, as well as art, scenes, and more that can be viewed from the museum. There is also an online mode, which allows you to compete against a computer or other people in 2 different ways. One of them is the traditional way that you've seen up until this point. The other is with tricks. As you hit notes, this trick gauge fills up. Once it's filled, you send a trick to your enemy, which affects the game by making enemies invisible, making the timing for notes more strict, having them splat against the screen when you hit them, etc. After each battle against a player, you both obtain some cards. Whoever won is able to get more of them. Finally, there's the co-op mode, which has you and a friend run along the same track, alternating music patterns. You can also heal each other, but you don't die. Losing a health bar lowers the score that is tallied at the end. Oh, and I don't have the Switch version, so I don't know what the 8-player mode is exactly like, so I'm not going to include that in this video. As someone who likes rhythm games a lot, I can safely say this game feels very nice to play. One of the main reasons is because I love challenging rhythm games, and this game is no exception to this. When sight reading songs, you learn to adapt on the fly as some notes move faster than others, some enemies have to be hit multiple times, sometimes adding to notes later in a song, or even combining with other notes. Then there's enemies walking around the track, and some sections in the song ramp up the difficulty and the amount of notes. It feels satisfying to not only play songs for the first time, but to learn and do well in them. And if you're not good at rhythm games, there is a one button mode, which makes the game easier. But if you feel that the regular difficulty isn't enough, there is performer mode, which adds extra notes that must be hit with other buttons that aren't normally used, filling in some open space and adding to some notes to really test reaction time, muscle memory, and how much you trust your fingers to move to the right buttons. One of the best things about this is how unique the controls are for a rhythm game. There are many different types of controls for rhythm games, but they, as far as I'm aware, don't follow the aspects of an action game involving attacking enemies while jumping to reach higher ones and avoid attacks, or glide around as the entire element of it. This game not only makes a one-of-a-kind experience, but it still plays like the games that it's based on. Also, due to the guests, the parties can end up being really funny. Like, remember when Riku, a Dream Eater, and Simba went to Pride Rock? Those were very good times. The worst part about me saying that is that that could actually happen one day in the future. The co-op mode is fun too. I was able to play this with my brother for an authentic experience, and it has pretty much the same feeling as the single player modes, but it adds on to that by having you focus on yourself and your co-op partner as parts switch between the two of you. And this is still entirely possible to play by yourself with two controllers as well, which is its own experience. I will admit I'd like there to be more songs available for this mode, but I'm not that worried about it as it's probably expected that you'd play solo or online. Speaking of which, the versus mode is also incredibly fun. For one, the netcode is fantastic because now that I've played fighting games, netcode is all my brain thinks about, and it's very smooth. Now I mainly play with tricks, and to me, the tricks are fair, mostly. They, just like the regular mode, force you to adapt to the changes that occur, or having knowledge of how the songs are played, and can allow for some close and exciting matches. The amount of collectible stuff is immense. Even ignoring the unlockable songs, there's so much key art, stations of awakening, scenes throughout the series, and cards of characters, enemies, and keyblades that will leave you scavenging for a good while. Looking through them brings some great nostalgia too. I'm not gonna lie, I almost cried looking at some of this stuff. I remember looking at so much of this key art when I was younger, and seeing it here is just happiness. There's not a better word to describe it. Getting more of these collectibles is pretty much constant, due to you getting a higher level for each category as you get more stuff, increasing your luck with getting new ones, meaning it won't be draining getting them all either, at least until it's down to the last few ones anyways. Trust me, as someone who has platinum Chain of Memories twice for some reason, this is a very nice thing to have. So, can I just say, Sega, if you're watching this, for some reason, can we get a Sonic rhythm game like this, please? It would work so well with how Sonic plays normally, and there is so much music that can be used. The collectible stuff would also be pretty important. This is a golden opportunity, Sega. The online is so fun in this game. Too bad it can't be played against friends through invites. Why? You can play against randoms, but you can't play against friends unless you both try to search through randoms at the same time. You both are required to be in a similar ranking, and even then, you still might not get connected to each other. Need I also mention that you can't play co-op with anyone at all? These are some incredibly missed opportunities. Look, maybe co-op online was a stretch, but a lot of people expected to be able to play against their friends when the fact that you could play online was brought up. For some people, this is an actual selling point on whether they would get the game or not. By the way, memory dives and boss fights aren't playable online. Again, why? This feels like it wouldn't be hard to allow as well. Not only that, but most KS3 songs are just not playable online by default because of this. Oh, and speaking of the boss fights, why are there only 4 of them? That number is flat out laughable at best. This is again something that people expected a lot more of, because just like the music, there's a lot of iconic fights within the series. Here's a bunch of fights that are some of the easiest choices that aren't in this game. Sora vs Riku in KH1, Marluxia in Chain of Memories, Sora vs Roxas in KH2, most of the organization. Choose either one. Roxas vs. Xion in Days, Vanitas and Terranort in Birth by Sleep, Young Xehanort in Dream Drop Distance. The game has Ansem, Xemnas, Master Xehanort, and Maleficent. I'm sorry, Maleficent, but out of the other fights that I mentioned, which are more iconic? Honestly, if we really wanted to go the extra mile, there could have been a Pete boss in Timeless River, a Darkside boss in a Ricotta area to give that game some more representation, and Trinity armor in Birth by Sleep with Unforgettable, which isn't in the game for some reason, but more on that later. And the problem can't be that there's no field versions because you made field versions for all of the boss fights. So why didn't you make boss fight versions of the other songs? This is extremely lacking compared to the other two modes, and the only question I can ask is, why? Why are there only 4 boss fights? And unfortunately, I don't think we'll ever get the answer to that. Similar to the boss fights, there are some big missing choices in the song list, and don't get me wrong, the base song list is gigantic and actually contains a majority of the music from the series, unlike a certain rhythm game. And there are some unexpected ones in the game, like the orchestra versions of some songs, Circle of Life, Beauty and the Beast, and A Whole New World, but some songs being gone is kinda sad and strange. Some make sense, like Tarzan and Pirates of the Caribbean, as unfortunate as it is, but then there's some weird things like no Winnie the Pooh or Gummy Ship music somehow, 0.2 Chain of Memories, and 3 especially getting screwed over hard for its music. Why is the opening for 0.2 not in the game? Maybe have theater modes for the Dearly Beloveds, which only one of them is in this game, and it's the one made for this game, and it's not playable. Why are some songs from Chain of Memories just not there? Why is so much of KH3's soundtrack not here? Some DLC can fix pretty much all of these issues, but man, some songs are sad to not have. Leveling up doesn't really seem to matter, which is why I kinda didn't even bring it up in the gameplay segment. As you play more and more songs, your characters will end up leveling up. And this was something that I didn't even expect to get given that this is a rhythm game, but it doesn't feel like it changes anything, at least inherently. Defense makes it so that you take less damage whenever you mess up. That's fair, but strength is not as obvious. Apparently, whenever there is an enemy that is beaten with multiple hits, strength determines how likely it will be that they will get stunned whenever they are hit, making it so that you won't lose health if you miss that enemy afterwards. That's strange, very specific, and pretty much doesn't matter in the grand scheme, but it's not like it affects gameplay that much. Leveling up's kinda just there. On one hand, I kinda want it to have a bigger part in the game, but on another, I feel like that might make it a sour note for me, so maybe this is just the best way to have it. This game is incredibly fun to play. It still has the main traits of the other Kingdom Hearts titles, which makes it a unique rhythm game experience that will make you appreciate Kingdom Hearts music a lot more, even if you already do. It's filled with nostalgia and utilizes it in most of the right ways. Some more music would be nice to have, and my goodness, the online should really allow to fight against friends through invites, but the package as a whole is very enjoyable both as a rhythm game and a Kingdom Hearts game. As for the story, and it's been this way for quite a while, there's some things I like, and some things I really don't. And unfortunately, we just kinda have to wait and see how things turn out. What's going on, my fellow residents? It's me, TheFrozenCavern, and thank you guys for making it to the end of this video. In terms of that last remark that I just made, that's kind of more in a sour area, because me personally, I have been following Kingdom Hearts 3 since it was announced back in 2013. So following the creation of that game and the aftermath for about 7 years now is pretty exhausting. Now don't get me wrong, I still have fun experiences, the key point being this game and Remind, but my opinions on KH3 has changed drastically since my review of it back in 2019. And the whole we'll just have to wait and see mentality is kind of irking at this point, but who knows, maybe whatever the next Kingdom Hearts game is won't follow the same path because it is after 3, but then there's also still Key that has to be done, and who knows how long that's going to be. But yeah, Melody of Memory has kind of become one of my favorite Kingdom Hearts games, like top 3, somehow. Like, I didn't expect the game to be bad, of course, but I also didn't expect it to end up being one of my top 3 favorite Kingdom Hearts games. So yeah, my opinions on Kingdom Hearts is very, very strange. But if you have not already, make sure you go down into the description below, because that's where all of my social medias are located. My Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and Discord are all in the description, and they are all ways for you guys to be notified of whenever my next video is up, as well as any updates for the channel. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe for more, as well as share this video out with your friends and family. But until the next video, take care.